Welcome to the Virtual Brain Injury Association of North Carolina's Camp 2020. My name is Sandy Worthington, and I'm the camp director. Today, we're going to be cooking with Cate. If you registered ahead of time, you received your camp kit, which included your cooking menu and a list of some things that you might need for today's activities. If you didn't get the chance to register, that's okay. You can go to our website and get those same materials there. The camp website is BIANC2020.net. That's BIANC 2020.net. Let's go see what's cooking in Cate's kitchen.
Hi campers, my name is Cate. You may know me from some past camps. I wanted to welcome you to today's segment of Cooking with Cate. And behind the camera today, I have none other than the extraordinary Joey Baker, who will be handling the camera today. So before we jump right into the actual cooking and preparing parts of today's video, I wanted to take a few moments and share a few things that I thought were important notes. So first of all, throughout this video, we'll be using and demonstrating proper knife skills. But it's important for you to know that if you are unable or uncomfortable using a knife, please don't. Or please get assistance with somebody who does know how to use a knife. It's imperative for your safety and so you don't hurt yourself. Secondly, as we move through this video, we're going to be showing you how to prepare, slice, chop, assemble, and overall create this meal. But for the sake of time, we're going to be probably moving at a bit of a faster pace than what your natural pace would be. We highly encourage you to stop, pause the video if you need to catch up, collect your ingredients, finish chopping or slicing or whatever the step is before moving on to the next part. Lastly, and this is probably the most important one that we're focused on today, and that is we want you to have fun. So cooking is supposed to be a little bit messy, it's supposed to be a little bit disorganized, and that's okay. So the point is to have fun with it. It's okay if things aren't turning out super perfect, or if they don't look like things in our video and in our kitchen, that's okay. And there are plenty of modifications that can be made throughout. So if you were unable to use a knife, there are other options available for you to make the same meal. So let's go ahead and jump right in and let's get cooking. All right, so let's start with prep, and this is probably the most important part. So let's go ahead and start with the basics, and that's going to be our cutting board and our knife and the various bowls and utensils that we're going to need for today. So this is just a regular medium-sized cutting board. I find these to be the most versatile than larger ones. I do have a larger cutting board here, just in case if you do have one in your kitchen, you're free to use it. I just prefer to have a smaller one because it fits my smaller kitchen. But whatever you have on hand is totally fine. So you're going to want a clean cutting board and a relatively clear space with only the things that you're going to be working with at that time. Now, the most important thing that I wanted to jump into and with prep is going to be, let's talk about our knife, and we'll get into showing you how to use the knife and how to sharpen and hone the knife. But first, let's just talk about what kind of knife this is. So this is a basic chef's knife, and this is probably the most versatile knife that there is. It can be used for cutting, slicing, chopping, yes, and other various things. But what's important is that even if you don't have this particular knife on hand, that's okay. What I would encourage you to do is to stay away from serrated blades for right now. You won't need any serrated blades, and they won't be useful for the types of things that we're going to be chopping and slicing. So anyway, let's go ahead and move on to the other bowls and things that you'll need. You'll need a large bowl, something similar to this. I actually have a large white ceramic one that I'm going to be using, but if you have something like this, this is great. This is what we're going to be using for our salad bowl. Next is you're going to need 2 medium serving bowls or serving dishes, and I'll have Joey go ahead and follow me over with the camera if you don't mind. Come this way. So you have a medium-sized bowl that's already being prepped and used, or you also have a serving dish. So this is what I had available in my kitchen, and you are free to modify and use whatever else you have. All right, now we're gonna come on back over here. All right, next you're also gonna need 2 smaller prep bowls. And one of my favorite tips that I learned from some pros over the years have been to have a scrap bowl on hand so that you don't have to take and make a ton of trips to the trash can, or so you don't have to have your huge trash can right by you. A scrap bowl is great so that if it does get full, you can just make 1 trip instead of 10. So have a scrap bowl, which is where you're going to put your stems, other various bits of scraps of food, and it makes your life a whole lot easier. I'm also a big fan of bowls that are relatively this size as well. This is great. For example, we just have some sliced strawberries in here for our icebox cake, which we'll get into here momentarily. But I like having these things around because they're a great size to have, and they're perfect for just simple things like this. If you're slicing or chopping something and you just need to put it in real quick, it's perfect. All right, so we've covered our 2 small prep bowls, a scrap bowl. You will need a strainer or a colander, which should be in your sink, and it should just stay there. You'll need it for at least a couple of times throughout the video, and Joey's gonna show you our red strainer just for reference. Anyway, then you will also need 1 small pan for our dessert. And I'm actually going to be using 2 different pans just to show you a couple of different options that you can use for our icebox cake. So the one pan I'm going to show you how to layer in is going to be a loaf pan. And loaf pans work really great for this kind of ice cake box. But you can also use an 8x8 pan.
Ice cake box?
Ice cake box, yeah. Icebox cake.
There it is.
There we go. Didn't know there was going to be some tongue twisters in that. Anyway, so you can use the loaf pan, or what our finished cake is in an actual 8x8 pan. And I just wanted to show you guys that there are various different sizes of pans that this particular dessert works well in. But if you don't have either of those sizes of pan available to you, that's totally fine. You can use a larger baking pan. Just know that your layers might be slightly thinner, which is fine. It's still going to be edible and delicious, but just keep that in mind as you go along. You're also going to need 2 rubber spatulas, one for your vegetables for stirring, and then another spatula for layering for your icebox cake. I think I said that right.
You got it right that time, yep.
10 points to any camper that can say that 5 times fast without messing up. Anyway, now, once you've gathered all of your prep items that you'll need, you're going to want to go ahead and wash your hands. Now, I've already washed mine, but you can pause the video here and go wash up because we don't want to handle any food until we've done that. So again, feel free, pause the video, stop, go wash your hands. A great little tip for that is to sing the happy birthday song. And I did not want to do that on camera, so that's why I went ahead and did it. All right, now we're ready to actually begin. So we're gonna start with prepping our dessert first, and I know it seems like we're working backwards by doing that, but this particular dessert actually needs time to set and chill for a little while before we consume it. So let's go ahead and gather our strawberries, our graham crackers, and our Cool Whip or whipped cream, whichever one you would like to use. Now again, I've already went ahead and prepared a full cake that I'll show you at the end, but this is just to show you what the layering process is gonna look like. And you can modify and change as needed. So let's get our loaf pan or another pan of your choice and go ahead and set that aside. And we're gonna get our strawberries. Here we go. And we're going to start with our strawberries first. And this is where we're also going to discuss some knife skills. So this is a great place to start with that. So take your strawberries, and you will need about maybe 1.5 cartons. And so I'm just showing you roughly about what that's going to look like. So you're going to take your strawberry and you're going to set it down on your cutting board. And we're going to leave it there for right now. Now what's important is you're going to take your thumb and index finger of your dominant hand, whichever hand you're most comfortable with, and you're going to place it near the handle and the blade of the knife, but do not put your fingers near the actual blade of the knife, which is the sharp part that needs to always be facing down.
She says as she touches it.
So just be aware of that. So you're going to grip the knife like this, and I'm just going to carefully show you what my fingers and my wrist looks like. The reason that we want to grip the knife like this is because that the blade is actually the heaviest part of the knife. And if we hold the knife by the actual handle, it's going to cause a lot of strain on our thumb and our wrist. This actually provides more control, which means you're going to be steadier and less likely to hurt yourself. Also, this gives us a better control of the motion as we're slicing or chopping or whatever it is that we're doing with our knife. So we're going to want to make sure that we always maintain this index finger and thumb connection on the knife. Now, whenever you're not using the knife, it's always best to point the blade away from you. So instead of laying the knife on my cutting board like that, if I need to go handle the strawberry, it's too easy if I just nick myself. So you're going to want to turn the blade around and face it away from you. And this is just a good tip to keep in mind no matter what you're working with. So it could be the strawberries, or it could be the cucumber for our salad, or the chicken that we're gonna prepare later. So let's go ahead and start with this. Another tip that you're gonna wanna keep in mind is you're gonna wanna maintain this C shape with your fingers, kind of like a claw, if you will. And you're gonna see a few modifications that I'll use throughout this video, but basically this is about what you want it to look like. And what this is going to do is it's going to provide a nice flat barrier, just in case if the knife does slip or if your hand slips accidentally, you are way less likely to cut yourself by keeping this shape. It's also a good way to stabilize whatever fruit or vegetable or any other produce and product that you're using. So for strawberries, since they're kind of small, you're just going to want to grip about like that. So my thumb and pinky are coming on either side of the fruit, and I'm keeping that nice claw rounded shape. And what we're going to do is we're going to take off the green part, the stem first, because we don't want that anywhere near our cake. And you're going to do a bit of an ocean motion, if you will. So just kind of imagine your knife making a wave. And I'm exaggerating this motion just to give you an idea of what the movement is going to be like. But as you actually start cutting and chopping and slicing, the movement may not be that dramatic. So we're going to start by slicing off. You can leave your strawberry to the side. Using your scrap bowl, discard the stem, like so. All right, coming back to our strawberry. Now that we've cut the stem off, let's go back to our claw shape fingers, remembering the thumb and index finger connection, just for reference. We're going to come back to that, and we're going to do our ocean wave. We're going to flip our strawberries down so that they don't wobble and they don't move quite as much. And you can turn and move your food or your body or your cutting board as needed to fit whatever direction and whatever body mechanics feel good to you. And we want to make little thinner slices, so they're going to end up looking at about that thickness, just so they lay a little flatter when we start doing our layers on our icebox cake. Snacking is also encouraged. All right, so we're going to do a couple more for you, just to give you an idea. Again, always coming back to that rounded finger shape, because we just want a nice edge for the knife to hit on. And just being very aware of where your fingers are in relation to the blade, and move slowly, take your time, pay attention. And again, we're gonna go with the motion of the ocean. Discard your scraps, take your other strawberry slices, put them in the bowl, your little prep bowl that you have, and let's continue to slice.
Some good slicing you're doing there, darling.
It's always good to have a sous chef that's very encouraging. All right. Now we're going to do one more. Again, practice makes perfect. And we really cannot stress enough how important it is to take your time while handling knives. And even as a decent cook that cooks regularly, it's still very important, no matter what level of expertise you are in the kitchen, to always pay attention to what you're doing and making sure that you don't hurt yourself. So let's do one more strawberry. Again, keeping that rounded shape. I'm going to slice, discard, turn our fruit so it's in a comfortable cutting direction. We're going to carefully flip them over and slice, like so. And again, if you need help with any of this, please get help. Okay, now we've sliced our strawberries and okay, now that we've sliced our strawberries, let's go ahead and set those aside for right now. And again, just to clarify, we're going to be just showing you the layering process, and then we're going to encourage you to pause the video and then finish the layering yourself. This is just to give you an example, and then we'll show you what the end product looks like, at least for us. And if yours looks a little different, again, that's totally okay. All right, now, just so you know, our Cool Whip has sat out a little bit, so it's a little on the thinner side, and that's okay if yours is too.
It's Warm Whip now.
Yes, it's Warm Whip now. Exactly. All right, so we're going to take our loaf pan, and just, again, a quick reminder, I am going to be showing you what the finished product looks like in an 8x8 pan, just to give you some ideas of what you might have to work with in your kitchen. Okay, so first you're going to want to start with just a thin layer of Cool Whip or whipped cream. You can also use the ready-made stuff in a can. That's totally fine as well. It just depends on your preference. This is just what we decided to use, but it's really whatever you have available or are interested in using. Again, this is also why you want to wash your hands, because your cameraman might steal some whipped cream. All right, so once you have a relatively thick layer in the bottom of your pan, you're going to take some graham crackers. And you'll probably need, for a full cake layering process, you'll need about 1.5 packs of graham crackers. And these are just your regular honey graham crackers. You're going to start by layering, and you're probably going to have to break your graham crackers depending on what size your pan is. You might have to break them to get them to fit, and that's totally okay. So this is for a loaf pan, this is about what you would need for an 8x8 pan or an 8x9. You'll probably leave pieces a little bit bigger, maybe closer to that size, and that's okay. So this is roughly what it would look like. Now you're gonna go back, you're gonna take your Cool Whip or whipped cream or whatever. And again, I know this looks a little thinner, yours may not be, and that's totally okay. If you're using Cool Whip, then it will be a little bit thicker. If you're using whipped cream, this is about what it'll be like, but it'll all harden up as it cools and sits in the fridge. So never fear, my dears. All right, so I'm gonna go ahead and just pour the last of that on there.
I love how you're so dainty about it, and so just like, I'm pouring it now.
Yeah, sometimes, again, it's supposed to be a little bit messy. I already have whipped cream all over my hands. All right, so the next step we're gonna do is we're gonna layer our graham crackers again. So we're gonna do 1 whole graham cracker in here. We're gonna do a second one there, and we're gonna need to break up a few. Oops. And let's go ahead and just layer them in. And again, this does not have to be perfect. Each and every graham cracker does not have to line up. That's totally okay, because it's all gonna just be sliced and served any way that it comes. Okay. And then whatever is left in your bowl, and you don't really need a lot for this next layer, just work with what you have. Okay, and we're just gonna kind of move that around a little bit, get the graham crackers to settle in, all right? And then put your dishes aside. And then you're going to take your strawberries and you're going to layer, you're going to top. And again, you will probably need about 1.5 cartons of strawberries to do a full layering cake. That's about what it took for mine. And that will probably be in no matter what pan you use. So whether you use the loaf pan or you use an 8x8 pan, you're probably gonna need about a full 1.5 cartons of strawberries and a full package, of graham crackers. And then 2 containers of whipped cream or a few cans of ready whipped cream, depending on what you would like to use. So this just gives you a brief idea of what your layer cake is going to be. Now you will just rinse and repeat this process. You'll put Cool Whip, graham crackers, strawberry, Cool Whip, graham crackers, strawberry, until you reach the end. And once you get to the top, you should still have enough Cool Whip left over to fill in all around the edges. and then top it with one more layer of strawberries. Now, I did decide for my cake, I put just a little sprinkling of dark chocolate chips on it. It just depends on what you're comfortable using and what your preferences are. You certainly don't have to. It will be just as delicious if you don't. So once you are done slicing your strawberries, once you are done layering your cake, you can set aside your dirty dishes. And then once you are finished layering, you are going to want to put this in the fridge and let it set and chill. And that's very important. So we'll go ahead and set this aside, and then we'll get ready to move on to our next step. Another thing I did want to mention is if you would like to keep a damp paper towel around, which I definitely like to do, just to help keep your cutting board clean, keep your knife clean. Again, I'm all about efficiency when it comes to that. All right. So now that we've done that, let's go ahead and move into our appetizers. Yum. All right. So you will need your grapes, your cheese of choice, and your olives. You will also need a small appetizer board and a small serving cup or ramekin for your olives. We're going to set
Ramekin.
All right. So first things first, let's go ahead and start with our cheese. So I prefer pepper jack cheese. That happens to be my favorite, but you are free to use whatever kind of cheese you would like and whatever that might be. That's totally okay. I also chose red grapes just for some color differential, but if you prefer green grapes, or if you would rather do more strawberries, blueberries, raspberries, that's totally up to you. For olives, I chose to use Mazzetta's Southwestern chili spiced olives. As you can see, there's tons of spices down there. They are not very spicy, but they do have a really great flavor, and I tend to really like Mazzetta as a brand. And as you can see, I did go ahead and pre-cube a few slices that my cameraman is now going to sample.
This is the best job ever.
Now, as a side note, you can absolutely buy pre-cubed cheese. Again, if using a knife is not available to you, or if you don't have someone that is available to help you use a knife or to do it for you, you can absolutely buy pre-cubed cheese. That is no problem. All right. So to get about this size cheese, and I did a few varying sizes, again, just depending on what your preference is and what you like, depends on how you want to cube your cheese. So coming back to our thumb index finger connection on the blade, remember keeping our fingers away from the bottom of the blade, and coming back to that C-shaped claw, we're going to take our cheese. And you'll see that I've done a slight modification with my hand. My fingers are a little bit more open, and my thumb and pinky are really gripping the sides of the cheese. That's because this is a bigger piece of food, and I'm still maintaining that integrity with my fingers. All right, so keeping with the motion of the ocean, we're going to cut. It's about a 1/4 inch thick piece of cheese. You can make this thinner. You can even cut a thicker slice if you'd like. That's totally up to you. Next, what we're going to do is we're going to cut this piece into 3 parts, and then we're going to rinse and repeat with the rest of the block. So again, keeping fingers, we're going to cut, and then there. Now you have a few cubes of cheese. If you'd like them smaller, feel free to make them smaller. Again, coming back to that claw shape, putting a little bit of pressure into our food. I should mention that's important just to help keep it stable. And just going to cut just like that. And there we go. So we will leave what size of cheese you would like up to you. That's totally your preference. We're going to go ahead and set aside our block of cheese. All right, next, let's go ahead and work with our olives. So this is very simple. Make sure with the strainer that you should have in the sink, you're going to want to drain your olives. Once you've drained your olives, go ahead and take that small bowl, that ramekin, and you're going to just put a few in there, as much as you would like. This can be more or less. For about 2 people, a ramekin full should be more than enough. And again, this is just a appetizer tray, a charcuterie tray, if you will. And once you're done with your olives, you can set them aside like I've done. And let's go ahead and take our cheese that we've cubed here. Let's put it on our board or plate. Again, this is just what I have available in my kitchen. You are free to use a dinner plate, a smaller dinner plate. You can use any type of serving item that you have available. This small cutting board is just what I happen to have, and I like it a lot for small charcuterie items. So we're going to arrange our cubed cheese that has been sampled on a couple of occasions. And that's quite all right. All right. Next, go ahead and select whatever fruit that you're going to be using. And again, we've chosen red grapes, but that could be anything. Could be more strawberries, it could be another berry, oranges, whatever you would like.
Probably not tomatoes, but otherwise.
Probably not tomatoes. Now, it's important to note that grapes tend to roll a lot when they're loose. I recommend keeping them on their bunch, on their little stems as much as you can, and then just picking them off.
Otherwise, break out the broom. Or the dog, whatever's laying around.
Whatever's available. So you're just gonna select your small stems of grapes that have them on there, and you're just gonna make a small, neat pile. And voila!
Ta-da!
Appetizer.
Oh,
Now,
wait.
Now, if you want, you can feel free to snack on this as we go along and continue to prep the rest of our meal, or you can pause the video here, take a break, sit back, get a drink with your friend or just you, and feel free to enjoy your appetizer as you would like. For now, we're gonna go ahead and set this aside just so we keep our cooking space clear, much to the disappointment of Mr. Baker, I'm sure. All right.
I'm good right now, so we have about that much time.
So now that we've done that, we can go ahead and set aside other items. And now we're going to begin prepping our salad, which we will have with our main entree. So you're going to want to have your large salad bowl nearby. So you're going to want to keep that close at hand. Now I am going to go ahead and use my large ceramic bowl, which I'm going to have set on my table. But again, any large serving bowl that you have will be just fine. So let's go ahead and gather the items that we're going to need. And so we're going to need tomatoes, our cucumber, and of course, can't forget our romaine lettuce.
Wait, lettuce goes in salad?
Believe it or not, Joey, it really does.
Well, I've been doing it wrong this whole time.
Now, what's important to note is, again, if you are unable to use a knife, you can certainly buy pre-shredded lettuce. Absolutely. If you're not a fan of tomatoes, you can buy pre-shredded carrots or pre-shredded Brussels sprouts or pre-shredded broccoli. If you don't like cucumbers, you can put anything else in that you prefer. So all of this can be custom tailored to what your taste preferences are and what you have on hand or what's available for you to buy. So for now, what we're going to do is we are going to start with our vegetables first. So if you do buy single vegetables like a cucumber, just make sure you do give them a rinse, and we've already done that. You definitely want to work with that first, and you're also going to want to rinse your lettuce. If you bought a head of romaine lettuce that you had to tear the leaves off of, go ahead and put those in your strainer, give them a quick rinse with cold water, take some paper towels or a regular dish towel and pat them dry. You're just trying to rinse off as much excess debris that might be on them. If you bought pre-shredded lettuce, don't worry about the rinsing process. And if you have the cucumber, please be sure to rinse the cucumber before cutting it. You don't want the inside of the vegetable to get soggy. So let's go ahead and start with our tomatoes first. Now, like I said, we've already prepped some of our vegetables, some of our tomatoes in our bowl, but we did want to show you how to cut small little vegetables like tomatoes. You are free to use any kind of tomato you would like. You can use a Roma, a beefsteak, or a vine tomato. And the rules are pretty much going to be the same. My preference for salads tends to be cherry tomatoes because I think they pair really nicely with the lettuce, and I like having smaller bits of tomato in my salad than bigger pieces. But again, this can be custom tailored to you. So
I just pictured putting like 3 whole tomatoes.
if you would like, that's always an option. gonna do next is we're gonna start with our round cherry tomatoes first. So when you're working with round cherry tomatoes, you're gonna, if you can put them stem side down. So this is where they were picked off the vine. You can put them down because then they won't wobble as much as you're trying to cut them. And that's always important. As much stability as you can have while working with a knife is what would be great. So keeping our claw motion. And again, you can modify and kind of change your fingering around as much as you need to, just as long as you keep that nice C shape and that you don't stick your fingers out where the blade's gonna be. All right, so picking up our knife, remembering our connection here. We're gonna claw, and hopefully you can see me here. Maybe I'll turn a little bit. And keeping in line with that ocean motion. Now, I like thinner pieces than this. If you like them halved and whole like that, go for it. But because of my preferences, I'm going to chop it one more time. Just like that. All right, place them in your bowl. And I'm sure you're wondering why we're putting the vegetables in the bottom of the bowl before we're doing anything with the lettuce. And while I'm chopping the rest of these tomatoes here, I'll explain why. So because we're not going to be eating our salad right away, but we want to go ahead and have it prepped and ready as we move along and prepare the other courses for tonight's meal, we don't want the lettuce to get soggy, nor do we want the vegetables to get soggy. So we're going to put the vegetables in the bottom of the bowl, including the the cucumber.
Carrot.
And then we'll slice our lettuce and put the lettuce on top. This will prevent the lettuce from getting soggy, and it'll stay as fresh and crisp as it can while we prep other things. And we're also going to put the salad in the refrigerator once we're done here. We're also going to hold off on putting dressing on the salad. That will really make it soggy. So, all right, now we've finished with our tomatoes. I'm gonna leave those be. For this salad, I would say about half a cucumber should be more than enough, but if you tend to really like cucumbers, please feel free to use more. It is totally up to you. Now I prefer to remove the stem piece of the cucumber. I just think that that tends to be a little bit more on the bitter side. So again, just remembering that blade connection there, keeping our hands away, keeping the claw, and we're just gonna slice that. Now, what's very popular in a lot of salads is to do just whole slices. I prefer to do more triangular bits or half moons. So what we're gonna do in order to achieve that shape is we're gonna turn our cucumber, we're gonna come to our claw, we're gonna hold, we're gonna apply some pressure so it doesn't roll around.
Yeah, careful with the rolling. I've been on the receiving end of a roll once or twice.
All right, now that we've done that, I'm going to slice each half of the cucumber again. I'm going to slice it this way, pull my blade out, take my fingers away, move it the other piece aside until I'm ready to use it. We're gonna come back, claw shape, and we're going to slice. Like so. Now again, depending on the thickness that you like for your cucumbers and what sample piece you would like to try is up to you. This is what I prefer to go in my salad. And once you're done with that, go ahead and sprinkle those in the bottom of the bowl along with your tomatoes. All right, now let's go ahead and we'll move on to the second cucumber. I'm gonna move a little faster here. So again, I very much encourage you to stop, pause the video if you're not quite ready to move on to the next step yet. And always keeping that connection.
Look at that talent.
Lots and lots of practice, my friends. And carefully scraping the vegetables off of the blade. We always go away from the blade. If you're going to move food off of it, always go away from the blade. Okay, now that we've done that, I'm going to take my paper towel. I'm just going to clean up my board a little bit here so I have a cleaner space. There we go. Definitely need to do some sweeping later. All right.
Oh, no.
For 2 people, I would say, depending on the size of your romaine head, you'll probably need 1 whole romaine head or For example, these came in a package of 2. So I'm going to use 2 because there's 2 of us. So I divide them up into 2 small piles. And again, if you haven't rinsed your lettuce already and patted it dry, please go ahead and do so now. Otherwise, for those of you that are ready to move on, let's begin. All right. So I'm going to keep my romaine lettuce in a small little pile here so that it's easy to maneuver and keep collected. Doesn't have to be perfect, but just enough so you get even slices as much as you can. All right, using our knife. Instead of doing that ocean motion where we're going to go this way with the lettuce, first what we want to do is we actually want to kind of start at the top here. And we're going to want to kind of slice down and then come in. Now that we have this, it's split in 2. We're going to take it, if you need to, set aside your knife, turn your lettuce like so. Do the claw, keep your fingers safe. And then we're going to come back, and now we'll resume doing our ocean motion.
I'm never going to cut vegetables the same way again. I'm always going to think claw now.
Yeah, it's important. So as you can see, I'm kind of moving my fingers along as I'm chopping the lettuce. And this is why going slow is important, so that you can always stop, maybe regather your lettuce a bit, reset your hand, and then go back in with your knife. All right, I'm going to clean my blade off a little bit, set it aside. Remember, always go away from the blade. Next, you can go ahead and take your first bit of lettuce, put it on top of the vegetables. Now, side note here, just remember, don't mix anything together yet and don't put any dressing on, just so you know. We don't want soggy lettuce. All right, we're going to take our next bunch of romaine. And I should tell you, if it's just you that you're cooking this meal for, you can pretty much take everything that we're doing here and just cut it in half. So if you're cooking it for just you, maybe only use 1 head of romaine, or if you have a big head of romaine and maybe you only need a few of the leaves to get the amount of salad that you would like. All right. So again, coming back, turning our lettuce, getting it into a nice little pile, taking our knife, and we're gonna slice lengthwise. So we have 2 separate pieces here. We're gonna gather it up, kind of bunch it back together, take our knife, and we ocean wave here. And I know I'm moving a little faster on this one. You are welcome to pause the video, rewind, go back, and remember, just go slow, be careful, and always move away from the blade when you're done with it. Put the rest of your lettuce into the bowl. And now we take it. I like to use tea towels, but you're more than welcome to use anything that you have. Saran wrap, aluminum foil, or paper towels will work too. And we're just going to cover it to keep air out. And then we'll have this placed in the fridge.
It's always helpful if you have roosters and, is that a pig or a cow? It's a sheep. It's neither. Oh, gosh.
It's neither. All right.
Well, there goes my whole joke.
All right. Now that our salad is complete, let's go ahead and clear away some of our space here. Again, always keeping a clear space really helps with the flow of our operation here. Again, cleaning up some of the lettuce bits, cleaning up our cutting board, cleaning off the blade of our knife. Again, always moving away, always keeping the blade turned away from you. I do believe our cameraman is eating an entire cucumber.
I don't know what you're talking about.
It's absolutely happening. Okay. Next, we're actually going to walk back to the fridge because now we're going to jump into our chicken. Now, this is actually one part that I didn't go ahead and pre-slice or pre-prepare because I kind of wanted to show you the full extent of the experience with working with a whole rotisserie chicken. Before I go get it, I'll tell you this. If you bought the chicken the day that you were going to do this video, your chicken should still be warm and fresh, but if it's not and you want it to be a little hotter, you can still follow these instructions. However, if you're like me and you went ahead and pre-bought it a few days ago and put it in the fridge, it's probably very cold and needs to be reheated. So there's a few steps that we're going to do before we reheat our chicken. So let's go ahead and retrieve it. from the fridge, like so. And as a side note, while I'm taking our lovely chicken out of here, I did find most of my ingredients at Harris Teeter and Food Lion, but most of these things you can find pretty much anywhere, just so you know. All right, so we're going to take our chicken.
Oh my gosh, this thing doesn't have a chance.
We're going to take him out, and he's a bit of a smaller bird, and I did that intentionally because it's just the two of us, and we really don't need a ton of excess meat. So we're going to take him out. We're going to put him on our cutting board. Go ahead and move his container to the side, but keep it around because you're going to need to put any leftovers back in there. Okay, next thing we're going to do is we're actually going to walk over here, and you're going to need a dinner plate, like so. And you're also going to need a damp paper towel. So you can stop, go get the dinner plate, and go get a damp paper towel. And you can set those things aside because you will need them. All right, so there's a lot of different ways to deconstruct a rotisserie chicken, but just to keep it nice and easy and flowy for today, I'm not going to worry about trying to teach you how to take off the wings or the legs and disjoint them. We're also not going to worry about working with the bottom of the chicken where the oyster bits are, which is where all the dark meat is. Just for ease, for today, we're just going to work with the top of the chicken here. Now you'll notice that we're not heating up the whole of the chicken, and that's because that could take a while and the chicken may not heat evenly in the microwave. So we're just going to take the parts of the chicken, the breasts here, and we're just going to slice them away, put them on our plate, and then set it aside until we're ready to heat them. So if you prefer no skin on the chicken, you don't have to keep it here. You can just kind of pick away at it, or you can find a little spot and peel away. I tend to like the skin on a chicken. I think it has a lot of great flavor, but again, that's totally up to you. So let's go ahead and take our chef knife again, remembering the claw, like so. And where the chicken meets in the middle here, you see like a little line, and that's the breastbone right there. And that kind of gives you a good idea of where to cut away from. So let's go ahead and start with this side of the chicken, just because he's got a little bit of a funky angle. So let's start, and you're going to want to keep your blade at a little bit of an angle here. So this is going to be a little bit different than the ocean motion that we were doing before. This is going to be more of a slicing and a like seesaw motion instead. So we're going to cut in, and you don't have to cut super deep, but just enough so that you get a nice slice. And once you feel like you've reached the bottom of the chicken where his legs are, you can
where them legs be?
you can take your chicken and set it aside on the plate. All right. And you see, we still have quite a bit of meat here left, and you can work through that on your own. You can pause the video and really work through to get as much meat off of it as possible. If you know how to properly deconstruct a rotisserie chicken and take off the legs and the wings and all that, please feel free to do so. It's just for the sake of this video that we're not doing that. So let's go ahead and move to the other side. And since he's, again, at a little bit of a weird angle, I'm actually going to hold him a little bit differently here. But you'll see I'm still keeping that claw connection. I'm keeping the blade away from me. And we're just going to kind of cut downward. Now, I'm not going to cut a ton off, but just enough. This will be my piece. Now, again, you can go through and slice as much off as you would like. If you're comfortable and you actually want a little bit more fun, you could do this with your fingers. You don't have to use a knife if you're not comfortable. You'll probably get more of a shredded style chicken, but it is quite fun actually. And you'll just get chunks of chicken off, like so.
I'll be honest with you, that's how I do it.
Yeah.
Just get in there.
Yeah, pretty much. Exactly. All right, so you get the idea. You can go in with your fingers and grab and pull, and you'll probably get more of a shredded look here versus the tops of the breast were a little bit more intact. But that's okay. Either way is totally fine. It's completely up to you. That's the beauty of cooking, is that it can be tailor-made to whatever your heart's desire is. All right. Okay, now go ahead and grab that container that the chicken came out of, and whatever leftovers of the chicken that you have, let's go ahead and put him right back in. Make good leftovers for tomorrow. Okay, let's set aside our chicken. We'll put him in the fridge in just a moment.
I love the hymn. That's great.
Yes. Now, little quick tip that I like to use, again, taking that paper towel, your scrap bowl, just kind of scraping off any excess from the chicken. And it's okay if there's still some left on here. We can always give it a quick rinse if we need to. Okay. Once we've done that, and let's actually take a quick, if you have a lot on your knife, go ahead and just do a quick wipe off. Again, always keeping the knife away from you. All right. Now, the reason that I had you guys get a damp paper towel is because when we refrigerate meat, and especially chicken, it tends to dry out really easily. So we want to take a damp paper towel and we want to place it over the chicken and on our plate. And you just want to make sure that your plate is small enough that it can fit into a medium-sized microwave. So if you need to go smaller, if you need to maybe use a bowl instead of a plate, if you have a really small microwave, it'll work just the same. I like to use a plate because the microwave will heat the chicken a little bit more evenly. Also, depending on what wattage of microwave you have, it could take anywhere between 2 minutes to 4.5 minutes. Our microwave is a pretty high wattage, so it shouldn't take that long, but you'll just want to check it every so often and just see how it's heating up. So for now, we're going to set this aside. We're not going to heat our chicken right now because we don't want it to get cold and we don't want it to dry up after we take it out. So let's go ahead and set it aside. And we'll leave it there for right now. So as we come back, now we're going to move on to our entree sides and table setting. So our entree sides are going to be this. Go ahead and dig into our freezer. You guys are free to go ahead and pause the video and take out your frozen vegetables. We chose to do steamable vegetables because they're quick, they're easy, but they're still vegetables and they're still really good for you. So let's go ahead and do our potatoes first because those are going to take the longest. Now, we've already gone ahead and prepped our vegetables, again, just for the sake of time. So what you can do is go ahead, pause the video, put your vegetables in now, and then while you're doing that, we'll show you how to table set properly. And just so you know, we used bird's eye vegetables. I tend to like these. These seem to be the most reliable microwavable vegetables that there are. I think they turn out really good every time, and their cook times seem to be really approximate and really close to how long it actually takes to cook. I will tell you, again, depending on the wattage of your microwave, it may take less or more time. For my microwave, it took about 6.5 minutes each for the potatoes and the green beans. What's also important as you read the instructions on the back of the bags is that the cooling time, the set time, which is about 2 to 3 minutes, that's very important because when the bag comes out of the microwave, it's going to be very, very hot. So another little tip is maybe have an oven mitt or a towel on standby that you can pull them out of the microwave with. So we'll go ahead and put these back in the freezer. We did just want to let you guys see what they look like and what the brands were that we used. But if you have another brand that you prefer, that you like, you're free to use it. Okay, now, hopefully while you've got your vegetables cooking, let's go ahead and let's flow into our dining room and we'll work on getting our table set for the evening. So if you can, follow me, Mr. Cameraman. And we're going to come into our dining room. So I've already got our plates and bowls and our forks, spoons, and knives set out. So typically in proper society, you would have 2 plates set out. And of course, you can do this with a place setting of 4 people or more. But it's easier to demonstrate with just 2 people for now. So we've got our plate set up. That's easy. Our salad bowls typically are going to go to the right of the plate. Next, we'll get our napkins set up. Napkins go to the right, like so. Next, we'll work with our butter knives. If butter knives are not available to you, that's totally fine. Skip this step entirely. For those of you that butter knives are available for, this is what you do. Knives usually go in and the blade is always turned in towards the plate. And they always go, silverware tends to go on the left side. Set there. Next, we'll take our dinner forks, which are going to be larger forks. Side note, if you don't have different sized utensils or silverware available, please don't worry about it. It's not a big deal. Next is going to be our salad forks, which is just going to be a smaller version of the big fork, and that's going to go right next to it. Lastly is going to be our dessert spoons for our strawberry cake, and that's going to go next to the small fork. Now, we do have small dessert plates. This isn't a requirement to set out when you're doing a dinner setting. Usually in very proper society or fancier restaurants and things like that, they would normally clear your plates away and your silverware away and then bring out the dessert spoons and the dessert plates. But just for fun, we're going to go ahead and set out our dessert plates. And they're going to go kind of up and to the left because you want room here to put a drink. And you'll go ahead and place that. All right. Now, if your microwave has dinged and one of your vegetables has gone off, that's fine. Pause the video, go take care of your vegetables. Again, carefully remove them from the microwave and put the next one in. In the meantime, let's go ahead and head on back to the kitchen. All right.
Oh, and there's the other sous chef.
And the other sous chef who's come to sample some food. That's Sam, by the way, for any campers who might remember him. All right, so now that we've done our table setting, hopefully you're working on your vegetable sides, which is great. And once you have your vegetable sides out, you want to let them cool and you want to let the bag cool so that you can handle it later. All right, now. real quick, just because this is hilarious. I don't know if you can tell, but look who's sneaking back in. He was just staring at me around the corner. Should note that this is a very informal cooking show, seeing as we do have a fur animal that lives with us. If you have a fur child, I'm sure you can understand the begging aspect of things. All right, so now that we've got our vegetables cooling in their serving dishes, or if you haven't done that yet, that's totally fine. Just let them cool, let them chill out. Next, let's go ahead and work on heating our chicken, and we're also going to make our signature mocktail for this evening. All right. Now, while our chicken is heating up, and this part we will actually do together, I'm going to go ahead and put it in, like so. And I'm going to set my microwave for about 3 minutes because I know my microwave pretty well. You can play around with the cooking times. Again, just monitor your chicken, and if it feels like that you are really having to heat it up a lot and you're really having to increase your microwave times, your paper towel might be drying out, and if it is, no problem. Just take it out, put it underneath some cold water, and then put it back in the microwave and then resume heating. So we're going to use 3 minutes as our cook time, and while we're doing that, let's go ahead and make our drinks. So we're using some of our favorite glasses here from Burial Brewery in Asheville, North Carolina. You'll need... Shout out to the AVL. You'll need juice. I've chosen Good Belly Probiotics, pomegranate, and blackberry juice. This is a really excellent drink. I love it. It's lower in sugar than most juices. And since we are really trying to focus on healthier options for food and healthier options overall, I figured a lower sugar drink would be great, and it does have probiotics, and yes, it is still delicious. You're also going to need sparkling water. And any flavor sparkling water is going to be just fine. I chose key lime, and I chose it in this bottle because it was a little easier and it was very, very inexpensive. So you're going to need that. And you will also need an orange, which we will go into how to slice here in a moment. So you can set that aside for right now. All right, in the meantime, you're going to want to take your sparkling water. And I'm choosing to do this carefully so that I don't overflow.
Crisis averted.
It is sparkling water. It's very carbonated. And I'm choosing to do this over by my microwave so, again, I can keep an eye on my chicken. I can hear it sizzling away in there. So I feel that a good ratio is to fill your glass up about halfway with sparkling water, and then the rest of the way with juice. But like we've been saying throughout the entirety of this video, create the ratios as you see fit. If you like more sparkling water, put more sparkling water. If you like more juice, or if you don't like sparkling water at all, you don't have to use it. This is totally what you would like. Now you can set aside your sparkling water. Give your juice a little bit of a shake, no matter if it's this brand or not. All fruit juices need to be shaken up a bit for optimum flavor. And we'll fill it up the rest of the way with our juice. And we'll get this nice, beautiful purple color. And you'll want to kind of let it fizz out and see if you need more or less of each liquid. All right. Now I chose to do an orange because it's kind of the last of summer and wanted to celebrate that with a nice citrusy, sweet end. So we can go ahead and just set aside our drinks here, just a moment. And I can see that my chicken is about done, so I'm gonna go ahead and pause our microwave here.
It smells so good.
It does. It should be smelling good in your kitchen too. All right, so now we're gonna come over here. And like I said, it's okay if your cutting board's a little dirty. Also, a pro tip, you can always just flip that bad boy over. Ta-da! All right.
I'm gonna remember that next time I'm cleaning dishes. Just flip it over.
It's just in case if you don't always feel like stopping and washing your cutting board and having a wet cutting board. So you can always flip your cutting board over to have a fresh surface, and especially if you were just chopping or cutting something that's really liquidy like tomatoes or cucumbers or a meat product like chicken. So let's go ahead and take our knife, and I am just going to do just one quick wipe down here. There we go. All right. So now with an orange, we're going to keep those same concepts, and we're only going to need one slice of orange per glass. But you can put more in it if you so desire. So we're going to cut off one of the ends first. Again, keeping that claw motion, applying a little bit of pressure into the fruit so that it doesn't roll around as much. And we are going to stick with our ocean motion as we cut. All right, place that in your scrapple, set that aside. Next, you're going to want, I would say, a relatively thick slice of orange. And I'll show you here in a moment. Set that aside for right now. So you're going to want it about that thickness. Does not have to be perfect. Don't sweat it if it's not. So I'm going to go ahead and do one more slice just like that. There we go. Let's go ahead and set aside the rest of our orange. And we're going to do a small cut, so that we've kind of made a little opening here. And you'll see why momentarily.
Making a little Pac-Man.
Oh, I suppose that we are a little bit. An orange Pac-Man. All right, you can set aside your orange. Put it away later, put it away now. All right. We'll take our oranges, we'll walk back over to our summery drinks, and we'll top it with a fresh orange slice. Now, if your glasses are big enough, you can also just put the orange right in. This is just more for show and tell, and I do actually like to squeeze the orange into the drink afterwards, and it makes for a really excellent little citrusy tang at the end.
And if you got little tiny umbrellas, all the better.
All the better. So for now, we're just going to set these aside, and let's go ahead and take care of our chicken. I am going to check it. And again, just be careful. Doesn't appear to be too hot. Okay. It appears that my chicken needs just a little bit more time, which is totally fine. My paper towel is still quite damp, so it's great. And we're gonna just put it in for another minute. Perfect. Now, while the chicken is finished heating up, let's go ahead and take care of our sides. Hopefully your vegetables have cooled off enough to use and to handle. Ours definitely have. And you can tear them here, or you can use scissors. I did bring out scissors just in case. And you're just going to put your potatoes in a serving dish of your choice. Set aside your garbage. And for these green beans, I am going to cut because the tear piece doesn't appear to be very user-friendly. I'm just going to make a small cut. And they are still fairly warm, so you still want to be careful. And for your green beans, you can strain them in your strainer in the sink if you want to get rid of some of that excess water that they steamed in. However, if you wanted to do things a little bit easier, when you get out your serving spoons for these things, I actually recommend just using a slotted spoon for your green beans so that when you pick them up, it drains the liquid out and then you don't have to worry about transferring them to a colander. So at this time, you can stop and get a couple of serving spoons of your choice and place them in the dishes like so. And then you can just set these aside for now. And the microwave went off, so we'll check on our chicken one more time and we'll see how we're doing. Okay. We are cooking now. All right. Now my plate isn't too hot, so I'm going to go ahead and handle this with bare hands. However, if it is, you can always use your paper towel to grip the plate and bring it out. Or you can use an oven mitt or a towel if your plate's too hot. Again, be careful. Now I'm going to choose to leave the chicken on the plate like this and just choose to serve it from there. And you can use your dinner fork to take the chicken off and put it on your plate. So this can stay here for just a moment and cool down for just a bit while we work on the finishing touches of our salad. And then we'll move all of the food into the dining room and then we'll get ready to grub out. All right, now let's come back over here. All right, let's take our paper towel, wipe down, get the juices, perfect. All right, now we're ready to get our salad. Carefully remove it from the refrigerator. Place it on our cutting board or any other clean surface. There. And as you can see, no sogginess. It's still relatively crisp. And we are ready to mix, add our croutons, and then add our dressing.
Look what I just realized I had on my wrist. Yeah. BIANC.net. Yeah.
All right. Now, as far as croutons and salad dressing go, I chose to use Newman's Own classic oil and vinegar. I tend to like a really simple dressing and something really light, and especially in the summertime. And when you have something very flavorful and acidic like tomatoes, they tend to add a lot of flavor and a lot of punch to a salad. So I tend to only like dressings that really complement that. But if you're a big fan of ranch or blue cheese or balsamic, all of those are great. You can't go wrong. For croutons, I use Simple Truth Organic, and I just liked very plain, simple garlic, onion, and parsley. But they have tons of flavors out there now. If you like the cheese ones, if you like the Caesar salad ones, go for it. All right. So now what I'm going to recommend we do first is let's take our croutons first. And you're just going to sprinkle a relatively generous amount. And if there's a stray one, you can ask your cameraman to sample the crouton, as he is very willing to do. All right. And I would say that's probably about a decent amount of croutons for two people and their salad. To mix our salad with, and I'll go over this before we put our dressing on. These make for really great salad mixing spoons, but if you don't have anything like this, rubber spatulas work really well. Your hands work really well. It's all good, whatever you decide to do. Anyway, let's go ahead, put our salad dressing on. You can do as much or as little as you would like. Again, with oil and vinegar dressing, it tends to be pretty tangy. So, and you'll just want to give this a quick mix. And you'll just want to make sure that the dressing gets incorporated into the lettuce and that the vegetables get incorporated into the lettuce. And there's no science here. There's no art behind tossing a salad. It's just make sure that everything gets tossed in and evenly incorporated. Okay, now we have tossed our salad. We can go ahead and take this and put it in the dining room, and we're going to follow suit with the other trays that we have. And guys, there's no rhyme or reason to how you set your food on the table or how you would like to serve it. In fact, if you would like, you can always do it buffet style if you're more comfortable with that. But just for the sake of, well, fun, really, we're going to set it in a more proper fashion. And my cameraman is being very generous in helping me set the table.
I'm just going to go to another room with these now.
With the green beans. So you can go ahead and grab your food. Come on in. And you can feel free to set your things down. Now, we can grab our drinks, put our drinks down. And then we'll show you the strawberry icebox cake. And these really are delicious, guys. Cheers. Also just realized that you campers are getting a small tour of our sweet little house that we love very much. Okay, so now that we finished with that, you wouldn't normally do this, but I am going to go ahead and set out the table with the strawberry icebox cake. And so this is what the finished product would look like in an 8x8 pan. And this is what it would look like filled in with more whipped cream. And these are the dark chocolate bits that I did put on top. So because we went ahead and put out our dessert plates, we're going to go ahead and put out our actual dessert. And you can use anything to cut this with. A butter knife is fine. I usually found that a rubber spatula tends to work best. So we're going to come around. We're actually going to put this on the other side. Just like so. All right. Now, last but not least, I did promise that I would show you guys how to properly hone and sharpen your knives. And since we've gotten through with everything, proper knife care is very important so that if you do have a really great quality knife, it maintains well and will last you for the rest of your life. So we're just going to do a quick clean here. You can pause the video at any time and do this. Again, if you need to catch up and work on setting the table and everything, you absolutely can. And there's already a little bit of soap on my sponge, but I do definitely recommend that you put soap and use some warm water. Okay, give your knife a final rinse. Excuse me, cameraman. We'll dry it off thoroughly. And again, always keeping the blade away from you. Very important. All right, and once it's dried to a good level, first we're going to start by sharpening. So if you have a really dull knife, if you've ever seen a sharpener like this, you're going to want to use the coarse edge here. If your knife, like mine, is in really good condition, you can use the fine option here, which is what we're going to do. And again, keeping that claw shape, keeping thumb, index finger. And you don't need to add a lot of pressure here, guys. Not a lot of pressure at all, because the sharpener is going to do all of the work. And actually, if you add a lot of pressure while you're sharpening your knife, you can actually dull the blade. And we're keeping with that ocean motion movement, like so. And you only need to do a few passes. It doesn't take a lot to sharpen a blade. Next is, I'm sure you may have seen this stick thing hanging about. So if you have, what we're going to do is, it's called a honer. And we're going to take it right across. And you only need to do a few passes. And what it does is it just helps keep your blade balanced. So we won't go into too much more detail about that, but once you've cleaned and honed, sharpened your knife, it's ready to be put away. All right, now for one last glance at a properly set table, complete with salad, entree, sides, and drinks, and of course, dessert. This is about what your final product would look like. Ta-da!
Yay!
All right, so in closing, guys, that concludes today's segment of Cooking with Cate. I wanted to send a big shout out to Miss Sandy Worthington for putting this camp together. She did an amazing job. And of course, a big shout out to my husband, my best friend, my pal, and my cameraman extraordinaire. Thanks for joining us for today's segment. I hope you enjoyed it. And more importantly, I hope you had fun.
Bye-bye.
Bye, campers.
Woo-hoo.
Woo!
Thank you, Kate and Joey. That was so fun, and I really cannot wait to try those recipes. Thank you for joining us today at our BIANC camp. Feel free to go ahead and look at this video over and over. View it as many times as you like. Share it with your friends. And make sure you come back again tomorrow at 11 a.m. for our music and sing-along. Remember, if you need more information about camp, feel free to go to the camp's website, which is biancamp2020.net, or go to the Brain Injury Association of North Carolina's website. Thank you, and see you tomorrow.